Today we're going to introduce how to create dynamic groups for your charts, reports, and visualizations. Dynamic grouping is a good way to categorize existing fields into more useful groupings. Create a dynamic group to temporarily organize your data in a particular grouping to show a specific result, highlight a trend, or otherwise provide insight through a specific view of your data. For example, it may be more useful to change this pie chart of revenue by country into a chart broken up by continent, so that there aren't as many tiny slices scattered about. By grouping your data into useful categories, it becomes more manageable, organized, and ultimately, more useful. Dynamic groups can only be created for non-numeric dimension fields. To create a dynamic group field, right-click the field corresponding to the values that you want to group, either in the data pane or the query pane, and select Create Group. This option is also accessible in the Field tab when you select a field in the query pane. Enter a name for the field that you are creating. Once you apply the dynamic grouping, this name identifies the new field in the data pane or query pane. You can select multiple values for your group by holding down the Control key and clicking the values that you want. When there are many values to select, however, it may be easier to add values to the group by creating the group first, and then searching for values to add to it. Select the fields that you want to group together, and then click Group. To add more fields to the group, you can search for a value that you want to add to the group, and then select that group from the Add To menu. The group will be named based on the order in which values were selected for it. You can rename the group by clicking on the group name and then clicking Rename. You can remove values from a group by clicking Ungroup, or break up all groups by clicking Ungroup All if the groups are not being used in the chart. Once you're done, you can drag the dynamic group from the data pane into the appropriate field container of the report, chart, or visual. If you applied dynamic grouping to a field in the query pane, this newly created field replaces the originating field. Whether you create the dynamic group in the data or query pane, you can use this new field in your chart, report, or visual. You can change the title that appears in the report column title or chart legend by right-clicking the dynamic group field in the query pane and clicking Change Title. You can also make changes to the dynamic group by selecting Edit Group. When you run the chart, you will see the data from the groups that you created, showing your data in a more useful form that you have configured using dynamic grouping. If you'd like to find out more, check the resources available in our Information Center.